1, 2, 3, 4.
In the summer of 1974, as the final harmonies of Best of My Love resonated through Record Plant Studios in Los Angeles, nobody in the room could have predicted that the Eagles were recording what would become their first #1 hit, the catalyst for one of the most meteoric rises in American music history. 5 young musicians with wildly different personalities had somehow forged a sound that would come to define an era, blending country twang with rock edge and wrapping it all in immaculate vocal harmonies that seemed almost supernatural in their precision. The Eagles weren't just a band, they were a contradiction, meticulous craftsmen who embodied California's laid-back ethos, perfectionists who sang about taking it easy, and brothers in music who often couldn't stand to be in the same room together. Their story is quintessentially American, a saga of ambition, artistry, phenomenal success, bitter conflict, and enduring legacy that has sold over 200 million albums worldwide and created a soundtrack for generations. The Eagles' genesis can be traced to a seemingly unremarkable backing band assignment in 1971. Don Henley, a drummer from Texas, and Glenn Frey, a guitarist from Detroit, found themselves playing together behind Linda Ronstadt during her summer tour. What appeared to be just another gig became the crucible for rock history when the two discovered their musical chemistry and shared ambition. "We were backup musicians on the same track," Henley later recalled. "We got to talking and realized we both wanted to form a band that focused on vocals and songs with substance." Ronstadt herself played an unwitting but crucial role as matchmaker, not just for Henley and Frey, but in assembling the original Eagles lineup. She introduced them to Bernie Leadon, a virtuoso multi-instrumentalist with deep country roots from bands like the Flying Burrito Brothers. Randy Meisner, who had played with Rick Nelson's Stone Canyon Band, completed the quartet with his soaring tenor voice and bass guitar skills. With Ronstadt's blessing, the 4 musicians broke away to form their own group. The band's identity came together under the guidance of producer Glyn Johns, who took them to London to record their self-titled debut album in 1972. Johns helped shape their early country rock sound, emphasizing their remarkable 4-part harmonies on songs like Take It Easy, co-written by Frey and Jackson Browne, Peaceful Easy Feeling, and Witchy Woman. The album established them as frontrunners in the burgeoning Southern California country rock scene, alongside artists like Poco and Graham Parsons. Their sophomore effort, Desperado, 1973, revealed greater ambition, a concept album loosely based on the Old West outlaw theme, featuring the now classic title track and Tequila Sunrise. Despite its current status as an Eagles cornerstone, the album initially underperformed commercially. "We were trying to expand, to experiment," Frey explained years later, but the marketplace wasn't quite ready for it. This commercial setback created the first strains of tension within the group, as pressure mounted to deliver hits. Behind the scenes, the personalities that would define the band's internal dynamics were already emerging. Frey and Henley, dubbed The Axis by other band members, were establishing themselves as the group's leaders and principal songwriters. Henley's introspective perfectionism complemented Frey's street-smart business sense, but this concentration of power created an uneven power structure that would later cause friction. Leadon, with his purist country sensibilities, and Meisner, naturally shy despite his tremendous vocal abilities, found themselves increasingly on the periphery of decision-making. The band honed their craft through relentless touring during these early years, building a devoted following and developing the perfectionist approach to live performance that would become their hallmark. Shows were never sloppy, harmonies never compromised. "We wanted to recreate those records exactly on stage," Henley once said. That level of discipline wasn't common in rock at the time. By 1974, as their reputation grew, it became clear that the Eagles were positioning themselves for a longer flight than most of their contemporaries. The foundation was set: exceptional musicianship, songwriting prowess, and unprecedented vocal harmony work, but the band was reaching for something bigger, sensing that their country rock identity might ultimately be too constraining for their ambitions. The Eagles were ready to soar higher, and the breakthrough that would catapult them to superstardom was just around the corner. The Eagles' trajectory changed dramatically in 1974, with the addition of Don Felder, a formidable guitarist whose harder-edged playing would help redefine the band's sound. Originally invited as a session guitarist for Good Day in Hell, Felder's blistering guitar work so impressed the band that they offered him permanent membership on the spot. "We were in the studio, and Don just started playing this incredible slide guitar," Bernie Leadon recalled. "Glenn and I looked at each other and knew immediately we needed this guy in the band." Felder's arrival coincided with the recording of their third album, On the Border, 1974, marking a deliberate shift away from their country rock origins toward a more mainstream rock sound. Abandoning Glyn Johns midway through production in favor of Bill Shimchick, a producer with a harder rock sensibility, the Eagles were strategically positioning themselves for broader commercial appeal. The gambit paid off when Best of My Love became their first #1 single in March 1975, introducing the band to a vastly larger audience. The momentum accelerated with their fourth album, One of These Nights, 1975, a masterpiece that showcased their expanding artistic range. The title track, with its distinctive bass introduction and Henley's soulful vocals, topped the charts, followed by Lion Eyes and Take It to the Limit, the latter featuring Randy Meisner's remarkable tenor on what would become his signature song. The album's success was comprehensive: critical acclaim, 3 top 10 singles, and their first Grammy Award for Lion Eyes. This period of ascendancy, however, brought internal challenges. Bernie Leadon, increasingly dissatisfied with the band's move away from its country roots, departed in December 1975. "The band was moving in a direction that wasn't where I wanted to go," Leadon later explained. "I wanted to play more acoustic music, and they were heading toward harder rock." His replacement, Joe Walsh, a successful solo artist known for his work with the James Gang, brought an undeniable rock edge and flamboyant stage presence that further transformed the Eagles' sound and image. The band's growing success created a paradoxical environment: unparalleled creative achievement alongside mounting personal tensions. Their working process became increasingly meticulous, with songs crafted through endless iterations. "We would work on things until they were right," Henley explained. "Sometimes that meant 20 vocal takes, sometimes more." This perfectionism yielded extraordinary results, but created a pressure cooker environment exacerbated by the era's excesses of cocaine and alcohol. Behind the scenes, the power dynamic continued to shift as Henley and Frey asserted greater control over the band's direction. "There were leaders and there were followers in that band," Frey stated bluntly years later. This hierarchy created resentments, particularly with Felder, who felt his contributions were undervalued. Meanwhile, Meisner struggled with the pressures of fame and performing Take It to the Limit night after night, which required him to hit stratospheric high notes. Despite these internal frictions, publicly the Eagles projected an image of harmony and success. They had become one of America's most recognizable bands, their music a fixture on radio stations nationwide. Album-oriented rock stations embraced their more complex compositions, while Top 40 radio couldn't get enough of their perfectly crafted singles. Their tours were selling out ever larger venues, and they had firmly established themselves as one of the premier American rock acts of the decade. By late 1976, as they completed their most ambitious recording yet, the Eagles stood at the precipice of true superstardom. The breakthrough period had transformed them from promising country rockers to mainstream rock giants. What followed would cement their legacy forever, but would also push their personal relationships to the breaking point. The Eagles were about to fly higher than ever before, but the atmospheric conditions were becoming increasingly turbulent. The Eagles reached their creative and commercial zenith with 1976's Hotel California, an album that transcended commercial success to become a cultural touchstone. The title track, with its enigmatic lyrics and legendary dual guitar coda by Felder and Walsh, became their defining artistic statement, a mysterious allegory of American excess and lost innocence. "It's our interpretation of the high life in Los Angeles," Henley later explained. though its imagery of a nightmarish luxury prison resonated far beyond California. The album's brilliance extended beyond its iconic title track. Life in the Fast Lane captured 1970s decadence with Walsh's driving guitar, while New Kid in Town showcased their gift for melody and harmony, earning another Grammy. Hotel California sold over 16 million copies in the U.S. alone and spent 8 weeks at #1. Rolling Stone called it a total and complete American document, recognizing how effectively it captured its historical moment. This period saw another lineup change when Randy Meisner departed in 1977. Exhausted by touring and conflicts with Frey over performing Take It to the Limit. Timothy B. Schmidt joined as bassist and high vocalist, completing what many consider the definitive Eagles lineup. Schmidt's gentle personality temporarily eased tensions, but underlying issues remained. Following Hotel California, the band faced immense pressure to deliver a worthy follow-up. The creation of The Long Run, 1979, became a grueling 3-year ordeal. "We were trying to follow up the biggest album in American history," Walsh later recalled. "The pressure was enormous. Recording sessions became battlegrounds, with perfectionism crossing into obsession. Despite its tortured creation, The Long Run succeeded commercially, topping charts with 3 hit singles. The title track, I Can't Tell You Why, featuring Schmidt's vocals, and Heartache Tonight, which earned another Grammy. The album sold 7 million copies, extraordinary for most bands, but somewhat disappointing after Hotel California. By 1980, interpersonal dynamics had deteriorated catastrophically. The legendary Long Beach incident during a benefit concert became the breaking point. When Felder expressed resentment about playing a political fundraiser, Frey threatened him on stage. "Only 3 more songs until I kick your ass, pal." The band imploded shortly afterward. Their July 31, 1980 performance became their last for 14 years. Henley famously declared they would play together again when hell freezes over. The bitter irony was inescapable. At their peak, having conquered the music world with an album warning about success's corrosive effects, the Eagles had fallen victim to the very excesses and conflicts they had chronicled so effectively in their music. The Eagles' acrimonious split in 1980 launched 14 years of separate paths. Don Henley established the most successful solo career with hits like Boys of Summer and The End of Innocence, while Glenn Frey scored with The Heat Is On and You Belong to the City. Joe Walsh continued his eccentric rock journey, albeit while battling substance abuse. Don Felder, Timothy B. Schmidt, and former members created lower-profile but respectable solo work. What seemed impossible became reality in 1994, when the phrase "Hell Freezes Over" transformed from a bitter joke into an album title. Travis Tritt's cover of Take It Easy brought the band together for a music video, thawing frozen relationships. The subsequent reunion tour and MTV Unplugged performance revealed a band that had matured musically but retained their immaculate harmonies and precision. Hell Freezes Over showcased acoustic reimaginings of classics alongside new material like Love Will Keep Us Alive and Get Over It, selling over 9 million copies. This reconciliation, while genuine, never fully healed all wounds. The Hell Freezes Over lineup, Frey, Henley, Walsh, Schmidt, and Felder, toured successfully throughout the 1990s, commanding unprecedented ticket prices and proving their multi-generational appeal. However, old tensions resurfaced, leading to Felder's controversial firing in 2001, followed by lawsuits and his tell-all memoir, Heaven and Hell, which painted an unflattering portrait of the axis of Henley and Frey. After a 28-year recording hiatus, the Eagles released Long Road Out of Eden in 2007, a double album that showcased their still intact harmonies and songwriting abilities. The album reflected a more mature perspective, addressing political and environmental concerns while maintaining their signature sound. Songs like How Long and Busy Being Fabulous demonstrated they could still craft radio-friendly hits. The album sold over 3.5 million copies, remarkable in an era of declining physical album sales, and spawned a massively successful world tour. The band's later years were marked by their recognition as American musical icons. Their 1998 induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which Felder attended despite tensions, cemented their historical importance. They received Kennedy Center honors in 2016, acknowledging their cultural significance beyond mere commercial success. January 18, 2016, marked a profound turning point when Glenn Frey died from complications of rheumatoid arthritis, acute ulcerative colitis, and pneumonia. His death seemed to signal the definitive end of the Eagles, with Henley initially stating the band couldn't continue without him. "He was the spark plug, the man with the plan," Henley said. "He had an encyclopedic knowledge of popular music and a work ethic that wouldn't quit." Yet the Eagles found a poignant way forward. With Deacon Frey, Glenn's son, and country music star Vince Gill joining Henley, Walsh, and Schmidt, the band returned to touring in 2017. This new configuration honored Glenn's legacy while acknowledging no single person could replace him. The An Evening with the Eagles tours continued successfully until pandemic restrictions temporarily halted live music in 2020. Throughout these transitions, the Eagles' musical legacy only grew stronger. Their 1976 compilation, Their Greatest Hits, 1971 to 1975, traded positions with Michael Jackson's Thriller as the best-selling album in American history, eventually being certified 38 times platinum. Their influence spans genres from country to indie rock, with artists as diverse as Travis Tritt, Midland, and Fleet Foxes acknowledging their debt to the Eagles' harmonies and songcraft. If you've made it this far in the Eagles' remarkable journey, you're clearly more than a casual fan. Now is the time to deepen your appreciation of this quintessentially American band. Subscribe to our channel for monthly deep dives into their catalog, rare interviews, and exclusive content about the band that defined California rock.